Have our salad luncheon. I think I know most of you ladies in here, but I will give you a brief word of testimony. And it usually includes Guy Ellen because she's my older sister and it was just the two of us. You can go, I'm going to talk about you. We both had the privilege of being born at Bob Jones College in Cleveland, Tennessee. She and Dr. Bob III were the first children on the campus and the only children for 5 years till the rest of us started coming along. And when I was 2, Guy Ellen was 7, we moved over here to Greenville the year before Bob Jones opened in Greenville as Bob Jones University, because our father was in charge of overseeing the buildings as they were being built there on the campus and all that sort of thing. He was the business manager at Bob Jones. It was interesting that when we moved to Greenville, we rented the upstairs to the Bill Piper home, and many of you read John Piper's books. Guy Ellen was the oldest, Beverly was next, I was next, and Johnny was the last one. And so we got to know them really, really well. And when my students started talking about John Piper books, I just thought, oh, surely that couldn't be that John Piper, but it was. But anyway, so we lived there for a year, and then the school built the apartments that all of the faculty with children lived in. It's now a parking lot over there on campus, but it was called the faculty court. I was saved. My parents told me that I prayed the prayer and asked Jesus into my heart when I was 6. But I remember a year or so later lying in bed one night afraid to go to sleep because I really wasn't sure if I died that I would wake up in heaven. And so I asked the Lord if he hadn't come in before, and I knew if I had asked him he would have, but that I didn't remember it. And so many preachers say you've got to remember. And so I asked the Lord to save me, and then I told my parents right after that. I gave my heart to the Lord when I was 12 to do anything he wanted me to do. We had missionary chapel back then. We had student body one week and missionary chapel another week. I think he was from Africa. I honestly don't remember his name or anything about him, but the Holy Spirit tugged at my heart that day, and he did something they didn't usually do. He gave an invitation in that he wanted you to stand to your feet if you were willing to go into full-time Christian service, if that's what God called you to do. Now, you got to understand, I was 12. Most 12-year-olds did not go to those things, but my father felt that my sister and I needed to go to every single meeting they ever had on campus, and we did. Even the ones before, when they would talk about the accidents when you were going home for Christmas and we were going to walk across the athletic field, we had to go to everything that they had on the campus. But I remember sitting there on the 3rd row, the 3rd seat over, and all of these college students standing up all around me. And like I said, there was nobody else my age in that whole building. Guy Ellen was the next one, and she was 5 years older. And I kept thinking, no, if I stand up, I've got to do exactly what God calls me to do, and that may be in the jungles of Africa with spiders and snakes. And I was thinking, as most children think, that the mission field is. But the Lord kept tugging at my heart, the Holy Spirit did, and I stood to my feet and told the Lord I would do anything he wanted me to do, Christian, full-time Christian work, or if it wasn't full-time Christian work, I would do what he wanted me to do. Guy and I both received our training at Bob Jones High School and college, and then I went on into graduate school there. As a child, I had loved to teach. Now, I was a little girl who played with dolls. That's why the Lord has blessed us with 10 grandsons, and I love them all, but none of them played with dolls. And the 3 girls that we have, that we're blessed with, didn't play with dolls either. I still have a lot of old dolls. And I thought I would be playing Tea Party and dolls instead of sword fighting and, dinosaurs and that sort of thing. But I always had about this much room with dolls in every chair as I taught them. Now, I don't remember what I taught them, but I know I was teaching all the time. I had a doll I played outside, and it rained so hard and her eyes sank back into her head and we couldn't fix it. She became blind Maggie. She had been Maggie before, but she was blind Maggie, so I always gave her a place right up front so that she could hear the lessons. And so I just loved teaching. Lou came to Bob Jones from northern Maine, the woods of northern Maine, in 1961, and we met in the church choir. And Dr. Gustafson put you by partners, and Lou and I were partners on most Vespers and most church services in the morning. And after a few years of friendship, we fell in love, and I thought I was going to be a farmer's wife in northern Maine. I knew that he was the one God had for me, and he was going back to the farm. But the Lord always has the best plans for us. He had Lou get drafted, and he was in the Army. He went to Vietnam, and when he came back, he says, you know, I don't know if I should go to Maine or not. I just don't have that feeling anymore. And so he went back to school and got some more training, and then he taught there in the junior high. And it was never, I'm going to stay in Greenville the rest of our lives. It was year by year by year. I waited for him to say, now we're going to Maine. But he never did. He just didn't feel that was the right thing. So the Lord allowed me to do what I love so much, and that is to teach. And I taught at the university for 51 and a half years in the communication department, in the theater department. And those young people meant so much to me. I just got an email from one this week telling me that her little boy was starting the 4th grade. But I just loved seeing what God was doing in their lives. From the freshman year, because I taught freshman speech, all the way up to grad school when I taught some of the graduates. It was just so exciting to see what God would do in their lives, what He had done in my life, what He is still doing in my life. The Lord blessed our home with 3 children, 2 girls. Christy is here, and most of you know Christy, and their 5 boys. That's the other grandmother sitting right there. We get to share those 5 boys. And then our son is a pastor, church plant over in Leland, North Carolina. And he married Rochelle Carrier, whose mother and father are Larry and Enid Carrier, who were here at the church. And they have 4 children. And then our oldest daughter is Becky, and she lives here in town. She works at the store with my husband, and they have 4 children. So the Lord has blessed us. We get to see the children grow up. We try to teach them ways of the Lord. And I am just so grateful for how He has led in my life. And yes, I have worried a lot in the past, and I'm going to try to do better in the future. But I do trust the Lord. I trust Him with my life, with my family's life. And I hope that this will be a good study for us this year. And I've shared with you all before, my life verse is Psalm 27:14. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and He shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. He begins and ends with wait, and that's the hardest thing for me. I can say yes or no, or this diagnosis or that diagnosis, but waiting is difficult for me. So that's my life's verse. I will wait on the Lord, and He'll strengthen my heart. All right, a couple of announcements as we begin our salad luncheon. If you have nuts in your salad that